Welcome to the Hornets Hivecast, the official podcast of your Charlotte Hornets. Here's your host, Sam Farber.
Welcome to another edition of the Hornets Hivecast, your daily podcast with all the notes, quotes, and daily buzz around your favorite NBA team, the Charlotte Hornets. I'm Sam Farber, and it is a pleasure and a privilege to have you with us once again. It's a Silver Linings edition of the HHC. Hornets fell 109-97 at Madison Square Garden last night to the New York Knicks. We'll break down the loss. We'll talk injury updates. A lot of good news in the last 48 hours for the Hornets, at least hope on the horizon for a return of a couple of significant pieces to this Hornets team, although they are still very much shorthanded as they continue on this two-game road trip. And some significant milestones achieved by several of the players who are healthy enough to get out there on the floor. We'll talk about those as well. To help me on all these topics, we've got Matt Rochinski, Senior Director of Digital Media for the Hornets, making his triumphant return to the HHC. Matt, how are you today?
I am doing tremendous, Sam. I feel like it's been too long. Every time I'm away from the HHC, I just yearn to get back here and be on here with you, so I'm excited to do this again.
We are glad to have you back, and let's get right into it. Hornets lose 109-97. Really seemed to be a tale of two halves. First half, not just that shots were being made, but the game was being played at the Hornets' pace. It was up and down. It looked like a game that was going to end up in the 120s. And then in the second half, it looked like it was a game that belonged in 1945 before the shot clock existed. The Knicks were able to just take the pace down to a snail's, eat up clock, and grind their way to a victory. What are your thoughts on how things went last night for the Hornets?
I mean, absolutely amazing start for the guys, going into New York, knowing how big of a game this was, how much these guys had to step up, and to see P.J. Washington kind of come through and have the quarter that he had to kind of start things off in the first quarter. This team got down early on. We were down 17-8, and it seemed like New York was going to be the team that was going to be hitting threes all night long in that first quarter, and then we caught fire behind P.J., and he went nuts there, and we closed that first quarter on a 9-0 run, and things were looking really good as PJ hit 5 threes off the bench, and you're thinking, wow, this could be one of those kind of special nights going on here. And then, obviously, Terry picks it up in the second quarter, starts hitting threes himself. And if these guys finished shooting the lights out in the first half, it was absolutely insane. PJ going 5 of 6, Terry going 4 of 5 from outside the arc, putting up 40 points combined between the two of them. It was just looking everything that any Hornets fan wanted to see in the first half. Things were happening exactly the way you wanted, and you look at it and you go, wait a minute, did we score 33 in the first quarter and 33 in the second quarter against the New York Knicks, which is one of the top defensive teams in the league? You're right. It's almost like they wanted to play with us. They wanted to get up and down the court with us, and we know for a fact that didn't last in the second half.
Yeah, to your point, 33 points per quarter in the first half, 31 points total in the second half. Hornets follow their season-best three-point percentage from the first half of 68.4%, 13 for 19, with their season low by far for scoring in the second half, just 31 points. But focusing on the positive, P.J. Washington came out, played 35 minutes, scored 26 points, including knocking down 6 threes.
Rebound, Terry Rozier, board number 4. He'll bring it up the floor. Shot clock's gone dark. JB maybe wanting him to stop, but he gives it to P.J. Washington, who fires and hits again. Forget hold for one. P.J. Washington, a 17-point quarter.
Matched a franchise record for threes in the quarter with 5. P.J. Washington red hot. And I was talking to Stan Norfleet and Kyle Bailey of Sports Radio FNZ on their post-game show afterwards, and they were asking, what about Vernon Carey? Why did he only play 3 minutes? I don't think it was anything Vernon Carey did wrong. I think it's P.J. Washington scored 26 points. At what point did you want him to not play?
No, I would completely agree with that. You ride that hot hand. Obviously, you wanted to work PJ back into the lineup. You wanted to give him his time. But we've seen now in back-to-back games that he's coming off that bench and was delivering right away and at an extremely efficient pace as well. So I think that was a great move by Coach Borrego. He wanted to kind of keep the team was rolling there at the end of the first half to take the lead. You want to try and build on that momentum, keep the guys out there that were working best for you. And PJ was working well with that first unit and back in it. So I can't fault that thinking at all from Coach Borrego to try and jumpstart this offense and keep things rolling. Instead, unfortunately for the Hornets, the third quarter was absolutely abysmal from an offensive standpoint. They just couldn't get anything going. And and credit the Knicks and that defense that we talk about, because I liken it to kind of stepping in a hill of fire ants here in Charlotte. You might be outside the hill and you get one or two ants on you at first. In that first half, they didn't really seem to be swarming. And then in the second half, you stepped in the hill and they went nuts. They were all over us everywhere. So the shots that even you had a little more space on, they were up in our faces defending those shots, and the Hornets struggled to hit shots.
Ultimately, Matt, the more I look at the box score from this one, the more confused I am. I mean, the tale of two halves things makes sense. The pace of play makes sense. But the closer I look, the Knicks are a team who attempts the third fewest threes in the entire NBA. They attempt 29 per game. They took 45 last night in the win, made 18, which is more than the Hornets made. The Knicks are known as, this big bully ball team. You got Julius Randle. You got a couple other bigs that you can throw in there. Good finishing at the rim. The Hornets outscored them in the paint 42-26 in this one. And there's a quote I read recently, or was reminded of, attributed to the late, great John Thompson, former head coach of Georgetown, that comes to mind. Basketball is like church. Many attend, but few understand. I was present for that game last night. I watched it. I don't get how things can be so night and day, have to have hot and cold style of play. It's a tough one to try and understand, considering the Knicks essentially played backwards of their norm and still found a way to bully ball the Hornets a little bit. Little help in the way that one was called, too, in the second half, and end up shutting the Hornets down and winning 109-97.
Well, yeah, and the Hornets did a tremendous job against the Knicks' best player in Julius Randle, your player of the week, and holding him to 16 points. But you also see that, obviously he had 10 rebounds and 7 assists is the number that really sticks out to me. And that's, I think, where a lot of those threes were getting creative off his dimes when he was finding those open players, as he was drawing and commanding double teams and triple teams all night long. So the Knicks stepped up and hit their shots, and let's be honest, they also got some amazing performances themselves. We saw what PJ and Terry did in the first half, but you can't fault, what Emmanuel quickly did coming off the bench for them in the second quarter and hitting 17 points, or seeing what RJ Barrett did in the third quarter to lead the Knicks. Like, these are not the kind of performances that RJ Barrett's not going to score 18 points in a quarter every time out there. So they needed a little extra help to kind of swing that when they kind of flipped the way that they were playing the game.
Schedule's about to turn more favorable. We'll talk about that a little bit later here. We'll talk about how the Hornets are getting healthier at the right time as well. That's coming up next here on the Hornets Hivecast. Cody Zeller knows how to finish an assist. Now you can be a part of one of his biggest plays of the season. Socks are the most under-donated item for those in need, and the Cody Zeller Sock Drive, presented by Hanes, is ready to attack that problem. You can help make socks a priority by donating one pack of new socks or $5 to the Cody Zeller Sock Drive, and all donations will be matched by Hanes and will benefit Roof Above. Head to Hornets.com and search Cody Zeller Sock Drive for more information. Sam Farber and Matt Rochinski, Senior Director of Digital Media for the Hornets, here with you on the HHC. Matt, the Hornets are getting healthier at the right time. One player who has returned recently had 2 back-to-back really big performances, P.J. Washington.
P.J. Washington fires again, hits again. P.J. Washington is dialed in from distance. He has made 3 in this opening quarter. All 3 of his attempts, 24-20.
And he has really been that way all season long. He's such a difficult player to replace. Hornets, fortunately for now, don't have to replace him. Also got Devontae Graham back. They're getting healthier at the right time because the schedule is really about to shift, Matt, in the Hornets' favor. After tomorrow's game against the Bulls, 10 of the next 12 will be at Spectrum Center. And while it's been a narrative all season long that home court advantage doesn't count as much as it normally would in so many fanless or fan-lowered environments, you look at the Eastern Conference and teams' records are overwhelmingly better when they're at home than on the road still overall. And for the Hornets in particular, they're 2 games above 500 at Spectrum Center, 3 games below now on the road. So the fact they're going to play so many home games coming up should work in their favor. But ultimately, health is the important thing because they're still without LaMelo Ball. They're still without Gordon Hayward. They're still without Malik Monk. That's more than 43% of the offense that is away. But the news has been good in the last 48 hours. All 3 of those guys, I think at this stage, are expected to return at some point. Not tomorrow, not maybe in the next week, but at some point for the Hornets.
I think we all love him to return tomorrow. You can't make that happen, Sam? I mean, I know you've got pull.
My brother's the doctor, and he doesn't work for us, so no.
All right, that's fair. But no, it's tremendous news for Hornets fans to see LaMelo Ball out on the court with the cast off, being able to do some drills, and you worry about that atrophy in his wrist and how things are going to react. But it's great to see him out there already being able to handle a ball. Obviously, we don't want to get too excited for it. You know, we want him to take his time and make sure that he's ready to go when he's ready to come back. But tremendous sign right there. And then also seeing Malik Monk out on the court shooting and getting some shots up, knowing that he could be, you know, maybe the next one back as we're kind of pushing towards getting some more bodies. So seeing those guys making those strides, knowing that they're this close and getting closer every day as this team just continues to hang on, that's what we just need to do, is continue to hang on at this point as we continue to get healthier. Because you're right, Devontae back in the lineup last night. Good to see him there. He's still got to get his feet back underneath him, I think, a little bit and find that offensive game himself. He had a couple big threes, but just you can tell he still had a little bit of rust after a couple games off. So seeing these guys come back is going to be a huge boost to the team. I know our fans are excited. I know they're ready to see what we can do. But, 15 games left. Can you believe we only have 15 games left? This just seems insane to me right now at this point.
And we're going to play them in exactly 9 days. It's just
double headers in the NBA this year, right? That's what we're getting to at the end of the season.
It's just flying by. No, you're right. We're coming up on the home stretch, but a lot of home games on the horizon here for the Hornets, and I think that's significant. And also, look, Miles Bridges has been spectacular since entering the starting lineup. Not including last night's game, he was averaging 20 points per game since entering the starting lineup, really doing a good job of keeping things competitive and making it interesting. Similar for Jalen McDaniels. He was averaging 14 points per game in his starts the last 7 games. But ultimately, those guys are not Gordon Hayward in terms of consistency, or maybe in Miles's case, it's more appropriate to say the role that Miles leaves from coming off the bench as a reserve, the people filling it are just not going to be able to contribute the scoring and rebounding he was able to as a spark plug off the bench. Miles Bridges led this team in double-doubles off the bench. Forget what he's done as a starter. Off the bench, he was leading the team in double-doubles. So, that production is just hard to replicate. And I look to the team's records with these significant absences. Granted, Gordon Hayward's absence overlaps LaMelo's, so maybe you focus it in a little bit more and say it's the collective, not the individual. But with LaMelo Ball out, the team is now 8-8. With Gordon Hayward out this recent stretch, they're 3-6. It's not to say, for sure one is clearly more valuable than the other, but the stats are what the stats are. And the collective absences, as they pile up, it makes it harder and harder to replace all of that offense, all of that production. So Hornets are trying to. Again, there was good news on LaMelo. He's returned to basketball activities. Here's what he had to say about his, not necessarily timeline, but his routine getting back to the floor.
Pretty much already started. This morning, had treatment, did a lot of stuff, kind of. Just trying to bend it down, bend it up, all that type of stuff.
LaMelo's, I don't think he's operating on anyone's timeline other than trying to do the work to get back. And however long that takes, whether it's a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is he's going to return and play in some significant games for the Hornets down the stretch. But I'll go back to it again. The Hornets have been able to ride this out and tread water without him out there and survive this. But the sooner they get him back, the sooner Malik Monk can return, the sooner Gordon Hayward can return, the sooner we'll see the ceiling of the Hornets play again.
There's no doubt that we need these guys back. We want to try and get everyone back and healthy as we're continuing to, fight for this spot, fight for our spot as we're pushing forward. So, but you're right. We don't want things to happen too quickly. And maybe the home games are going to help. You're right. I think that even though a lot of people are saying this season that home court advantage doesn't really mean as much, I think since fans have returned to Spectrum Center, we've seen how much it does mean to this team. When we've lost players, we've gained fans. And by gaining those fans, at least we've got that extra 6 man, so to speak, in our pocket here that's been kind of fueling these guys as they've come and played here at home. Because you can tell that these fans are definitely behind this squad right now, and they're feeling the energy of it. So to have 10 home games remaining out of those 15, especially 10 in the next 12, knowing that we close on the road, it's going to be huge for us as we're trying to get healthy, to try and continue to build off of that fan support and playing at home as the team continues to get bodies back.
It'll start Friday the 23rd when the Hornets host the Cleveland Cavaliers. It'll be night 2 of a back-to-back as well for the Hornets. For ticket information, go to Hornets.com. With all the absences, some other players have stepped up, as we've mentioned, and made some significant strides and helped the Hornets tread water. They're only a game below 500. Again, solidly in that 8th position for now and within striking distance still of climbing into the top 6, although they might need a little bit of help here and certainly need to get hot down the stretch. But some significant milestones achieved recently. We're going to talk about them next here on the Hornets Hivecast.
Hornets fans, during the month of April, the Charlotte Hornets and their official hunger relief partner, Food Lion Feeds, are launching the 2021 Dunk Hunger Food Drive to benefit Second Harvest Food Bank of Metro Atlanta.
To Bridges, who throws it down with a right hand.
For every Hornets dunk this month,
Slams it down with 2 hands.
Food Lion will donate 1,000 meals.
Terry Rozier throws it down over Kevin Durant.
For more information on how you can help Food Lion and the Hornets dunk hunger, visit hornets.com/dunkhunger.
Pass for Terry Rozier. Tip goes right to a Martin brother who dumps it off down low. Cody Zeller rises and slams it down.
Cody Zeller, one of the significant contributors in that first half run for the Hornets, unfortunately, it ended up in a loss to the Knicks, 109-97. Hornets still winless on the season when they fail to reach 100 points. But Zeller has been good about manipulating his role. Sometimes he's been a starter playing closer to 30 minutes and being a good two-way player, a good offensive option as a pick-and-roll player. Some nights he's been more of a reserve like he was yesterday, only playing that 10 to 15-minute range. And there's been games he hasn't played at all, but he's always been ready. But he has been a significant, consistent piece for this Hornets team for getting close to a decade now. And along the way, he's racked up a lot of games played. Matt Rochinski, Senior Director of Digital Media for the Hornets, alerted me to a stat. Matt, I'll let you tell it. Cody Zeller reaching a milestone.
Yeah, and it was kind of a crazy milestone that he reached last night in New York. He played his 456th career game with the Hornets, and it's nuts to think that's 4th all-time in games played now for Charlotte. He passed my guy, Gerald Wallace. Absolutely loved watching that guy play, back with the Charlotte Bobcats back in the day, but passed him for 4th overall and is in some pretty good contention now with the top 4 with Dell, Muggsy, and Kemba kind of lined up right there.
That's something. He's not the only one reaching milestones as of late. Terry Rozier and Devontae Graham both made some ground on the all-time three-point shooting list and doing it in fast fashion. Terry Rozier, with his shooting performance yesterday against the Knicks, making 4 threes. His career three-point total is now at 354. He passed DJ Augustine, who took 4 seasons to make 350. Terry's done it in less than 2, and significantly less than 2 since both of them are COVID-shortened seasons. He is now 21 back of Raymond Felton for 8th place all-time. And Devontae Graham, in his return to the floor, he made 3 threes. He now has 392 career. He passed David Wesley, who sunk 393s over 5 seasons. Devontae has basically done it in 2 seasons because, again, abbreviated schedules, and he didn't play very much his rookie year. He was mostly a G League player, did end up in 46 games, but really was not a significant piece of the offense until his sophomore season as a pro. So Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier both climbing the charts. Devontae now has a way to go. He's got about 100 threes to move up the next rung on the ladder. Terry Rozier's a little bit closer, but still some significant marks being achieved here by these Hornets, and it shows a little bit of how the style of play has changed, quite frankly, in the last decade, but also just how proficient these two are at shooting the ball from distance.
Style of play changed in the last decade. I'd say style of play has changed in the last 2 years for the Hornets. It's really indicative of that because you look at these two guys, and they're the guys who are out there, obviously, who've helped us become a solid three-point shooting team. These numbers don't lie, and I wonder if they're talking to each other in the locker room as this is going on because Terry's only about 40 behind Devontae right now. So I wonder if he's looking in his rearview mirror as these guys take the court every night. But it's great to see what they've been able to do and really speaks to what they've brought to this offense and helped to really reshape this team over the course of the last few years. So can't be more proud of these guys for seeing what they've been able to do. It's fun to watch. They've made the Hornets fun basketball again.
Hornets looking to bounce back tomorrow against the Chicago Bulls. We'll have our full preview podcast for you tomorrow available, but that bounce back quote, that's not really actually from me, Matt. This is Miles Bridges just tweeted out a few minutes ago after the game. quote, terrible game, emoji with the hand over the face, bounce back next game. And that's from Miles Bridges. Team is taking accountability. They want to be successful. They're not looking at this like they're playing with house money, which a lot of people, myself included, think they are, because the national expectations coming into the season were somewhere around 24, 25, 26 wins. They've already got 28. But this team doesn't want to be gifted their playoff position because Chicago or Washington or Toronto can't put together enough wins to catch up. They want to cash it in themselves. They're likely going to have to. They need to pick up some more wins, probably 5 or 6 more at minimum, to ensure that they're going to make the postseason. And if they want to avoid the play-in game, they really got to get hot down the stretch. But this is a team that believes in itself, wants to achieve this, and has a big game coming up on Thursday now against the Bulls.
Yeah, we need to bounce back really big against the Bulls, pick up a victory, and head back home to start that string of home games that we talked about. If we can pick up a win out on the road and head back home, start getting healthier, stay in our own beds, I think that it's really going to give these guys that boost that they need. So hopefully we come back out against Chicago and play well in the Windy City.
It'll be a long, long home stretch. And again, tickets are available for these home games, the 10 out of 12 that'll start on Friday with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Matt, there's a lot of good stuff, fun stuff going on at the Hive. It's obviously been a strange season, starting the year without fans and now only gradually welcoming them into the building. But in your role as director of digital media, you help coordinate all of these different pieces to help fans stay engaged. Part of that, though, is the in-game experience with this final home stretch coming up. Again, Friday it starts, the 23rd against the Cleveland Cavaliers, then Sunday against Boston. Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks will come Tuesday the 27th, and there's more home games against Detroit, Miami, the Bulls, Orlando. Battle of the Ball brothers when Zion Williamson and Lonzo Ball and the Pelicans come in early May, and then we'll wrap it up, the home schedule with Denver and the Clippers. What's one thing that you would point out that, in addition to just the exciting style of play and hopefully the return of Gordon Hayward, LaMelo Ball, Malik Monk to this exciting core that's already out there on the floor, that you would recommend fans be ready for and maybe have their Hornets app ready for when they come out to the Hive for a home game the next month?
I mean, we're getting more and more interactive with our fans through the apps as things have kind of matriculated this season and fans have returned. So we're taking a lot of the things that we were doing while fans weren't there and making sure we're keeping the fans engaged that are inside the arena, trying different new halftime things, different competitions, different giveaways. But we're also going to continue to extend those giveaways out to our fans who can't make it to the games and might not be able to get down to Spectrum Center very easy. So we're going to have opportunities for everybody, both home and in your homes if you need it. So we're looking forward to engaging with our fans throughout these last 15 games and hopefully setting up for a nice little playoff.
Hopefully we will see you all at the Hive. Again, next home game Friday, the 23rd against Cleveland, and then many, many more home games to follow. Look forward to seeing you all at Spectrum Center. Matt Rochinski, Senior Director of Digital Media, thanks so much for joining us again here on, sad to say, a Silver Linings edition of the Hornets Hivecast, but still always fun to have you on.
Always a pleasure, and let's promise and win next time I'm on. That's what we're going to do.
We're looking forward to it. Thanks to all of you as well for tuning in tonight. A reminder, we'll have our preview podcast tomorrow ahead of the Hornets against the Chicago Bulls, a pivotal road game and an opportunity for the Hornets to reduce their magic number by 2. Could reduce it by 2 if they get a W on the road against the Bulls. We'll have that preview for you tomorrow. Till then, for everyone here, I'm Sam Farber saying thanks for tuning in. It's been a pleasure and a privilege having you with us on the Hornets Hivecast. Till next time, in the words of LaMelo Ball.
Thank y'all. Have a good day. Wear your mask.
Thanks for listening to the Hornets Hivecast. For more coverage, visit Hornets.com.